Hello, Monetization Nation. Today, my guest is Geno Church. Geno is a strategist, creative director, and community designer with more than 20 years of experience utilizing human-centered discovery methodologies, branding, and word-of-mouth strategies. He's the author of The Passion Conversation, Understanding, Sparking, and Sustaining Word-of-Mouth Marketing, and he hosts the Shared Ship podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, Geno.
Thank you for having me.
So can you start off by sharing with us something that you are super passionate about?
Oh, geez. I'll do something shocking. I'm very passionate about pirates.
Okay. Who are your favorite pirates?
Well, I'm in South Carolina, so of course I have to be a fan of Blackbeard. Because he's really, I think, judged harshly, and there's some new history coming or some new research coming to light that maybe, he was still bad, but he did some good. But also I like another pirate, Stede Bonnet, and of course, Bartholomew Roberts, who was Black Bart, who really started what we know of kind of a gentleman's pirate, and he started the code that the pirates live by, which is kind of some things that I dig into for how we can build community structure. So I'm geeky about pirates, and I'm also geeky about Disney. So two weird matches.
No, Disney's great. And Disney's done some great pirate stuff too.
They have.
What are some of your favorite things Disney's done?
Oh, geez. Well, I am I'm now an owner of a DVC, Disney Vacation Club contract, which I know is kind of shows there's a commitment there. Mm-hmm. I think for me, I grew up, I remember with my mom and dad going to see movies. I don't remember it. I was too young, but I got to see Pinocchio as a really young boy, but I love the Flubber movies.
Yes.
When I was young.
The new one with Robin Williams was so good.
Yeah.
We watched that again recently, not too long ago.
It's kind of a hidden gem. So I grew up, I love the Flubber stuff. And then the new stuff, I am a big fan of, Moana, of course, Up. Ratatouille is probably my favorite of the Pixar genre stuff.
Very creative.
And then I'm a big fan of the parks. We just went in May. And so as an adult that still finds joy, I find it just stimulates my creativity. Yeah. And it gets me to think out of the box. And I really love to explore experiences that create moments for us. And I think Disney does that really well.
Yeah, that you said that so well. That is why I love Disney parks, is because they create an experience. It's not about going on a ride. It's about sharing an experience with my daughter and creating a moment, that could last forever. So yes, I completely agree. They're great at that.
They are. They're good.
Okay. Can you share with us your story, your journey to become this expert in word of mouth marketing and digital marketing?
Oh, it's whether I'm an expert or not, that's a story to be told. It's funny, Nathan. Last night I was doing some academic research on a couple of things, and I stumbled across my name being mentioned in academia on some research papers. And it was from kind of my start into going from an art director, creative director, into starting to think about community and community building. And it was a paper written from the CDC, Center for Disease Control, for a tobacco cessation program that I was a part of in the early 2000s in South Carolina. I had the opportunity at the agency I was with at that time to answer a call on an RFP to build a smoking cessation program for teenagers in South Carolina, which at that time had the highest smoking rate of any state in the United States, as well as the cheapest cigarettes, and a tobacco producing state. I had worked a couple of years earlier, right out of college, on President Clinton's drug control policy program. And I worked alongside parents that had lost a child to drugs or were losing children to drugs. What I witnessed there at the table with these moms and dads was the power of conversation and the power of community taking action. And it was far more powerful than anything I could create with my wrist. And I didn't know what to do with that. And it was several years later that this opportunity came, and I convinced the people that I work with to not do a truth campaign, which was running big at that time, which was all the body bags, heavy television, radio.
Yeah.
And I had this idea that we could create a peer-to-peer program where we educated teenagers and they would be the living messengers for the message to smoke or not to smoke. And it would be authentic. And word of mouth as a discipline did not even exist at that time. We got the contract. We brought people in from across the country to help us build a curriculum that would be taught to teenagers, and then they would teach it, and then they would go out and do actions, almost like missions, based on the things that they explored with other teenagers. And that became Rage Against the Haze. This paper that I discovered last night was written about Rage Against the Haze back in 2009. And it was extremely successful. It lived for 9 years, which is stunning, in a state that fought like hell to get rid of it because it wasn't politically correct. But what that did, Nathan, is within about a year and a half, I went to New York. I spoke on Rage at the second Word of Mouth Marketing Conference in New York. I'll never forget it. Seth Godin was there. And a woman came up to me and said, "Can you do that for a brand? Can you build something like that?" And I said, "Sure." And that brand was Fiskars scissors. They make the orange hemp scissors.
They're great. And they do all the gardening
tools too. Yeah,
I have a bunch of their stuff.
Well, Very cool. Well, Suzanne Fanning was the head of PR at the time, and she believed that there was an untapped evangelism for Fiskars products in the crafting and scrapbooking area. So we went out across America. We went to 4 cities, and we interviewed people about why they craft and how does Fiskars fit into that. And we learned some really, really interesting things in doing that. And we built a community at that time, digital, that, Nathan, it's hard to believe. I had this weird idea of 4 women that were scrapbookers and crafters would be bloggers, and that they would all blog on the same platform. That did not exist at that time. When Fiskars, I think that was 2004, 2005, we had to get somebody to write the code to be able to have multiple bloggers on the same platform. I mean, it's insane to think that now we take that for granted. But I stepped into it through working with teens, working with Fiskars, and then it just rapidly grew into that was the discipline for the agency I previously worked with. And WOM became WOMA, Word of Mouth Marketing Association, became a very powerful, influential marketing association with a lot of research. And it eventually started being gobbled up, and it got lost in the social media wave. And then it got bought by AMA. And I think that's what happened to word of mouth, is that it seemed about 3 years ago to be old fashioned and out of touch, which is crazy since it's the longest running form of communication that has impact that's ever existed as for humanity. And to think that it was old fashioned. So that's where I come into today, is that I left a place after 20 years where I co-authored those 2 books. And I went with another Brains on Fire person, a person from that same agency, and then another friend of mine, that we believe that we would double down on community design, and that would be our discipline, because we really believe, and especially, I mean, we launched this thing right at the beginning of the pandemic. And that was a little bit nuts, but it proved to us that We really felt like we were delivering something that was really, really needed. Needed for people. It was needed for brands. It helps with brands and organizations with their relevancy. It helps with defining the story and maybe get them connected back to Nathan. What value do they really provide to their customer, to their consumer? Do they really care? Does it add a value into their life worthy enough to use their social currency, to recommend you, to buy it for someone else? And so that's the power of community and the power of word of mouth.
And you've been on a journey here. In this journey you've gone on, what's been the best home run that you've hit?
On my wall over here, I kind of keep, I'm a lucky person that there's, in my 15 plus year of helping build communities, 7 are still alive, which is nuts. But I would say it's hard to not look back and be humbled by the success of Rage, and not necessarily what it did. It lowered the smoking rate, one of the largest smoking rates recorded by the CDC. But what makes a difference to me with that program, number one, is the young men and women that were in that and what they have become. Teachers, lawyers, professors, the youngest person to be on the board of the NAACP. It really helped them build and define leadership skills that they still are using to this day. And so that's a humbling experience. The other thing that I would say that I'm very, very proud of is Wonderopolis, which was a very simple idea. It was for National Center for Families Learning. And we again do kind of like anthropological insight research, where we go out, we talk to people, we play games, we open, explore, and close. And I was with a group of Spanish-speaking, English learning moms and dads. And I said, let's talk about literacy. And they were like, I'm sorry, what does that mean? It's lost in translation. Does it mean illiterate, not written? I was like, oh, we've got to stop. We're going about this the wrong way. So we thought, what if we change this and we focus on curiosity and wonder for children to spark learning, reading, and literacy, not the act. So Wonderopolis.org is all about a wonder of the day. So every day is a new wonder of the day. And it's been around for years now, and it's still going strong. And so I think that's the things that I'm the most proud of, is to be able to play a small part in communities that are still making a difference in people's lives. And they're just not a marketing mechanic.
What are your top secrets and strategies? What advice would you give to business owners who want to create a digital community?
Well, the first thing you've got to do, and it's really the hardest, and it seems a lot of people don't really see it as a magic seeds, but it really does start there, that you've got to go out and you've got to talk to people. You've got to get away from your cluster. Now, sometimes it might be that you need to start that digital community and an experiential community internally inside of your organization, because sometimes there's a lot of culture building that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But if you're going out and you're looking for your customers and your advocates, you need to go where they are, and you need to find out how you connect with them, and also find out what ticks in their life. And so I think the things, Nathan, that I've come to realize at this, I guess, whether I'm in the sunset of my career or wherever I'm at in my career, is that we all have our own path to step into the way we use a product or a service. We also have our own path as to how we become passionate about that product or service. So let's take my newest passion. I am a Ford Mustang guy, but I have ordered a new Bronco that will come out later this summer. Mine will not come till 2022. And this got started because I was doing work for Michelin BF Goodrich, and we were doing a lot of off-road events, and I started off-roading with people like at Moab and at on Baja. And,
Moab is so beautiful. What an amazing place.
it's gorgeous. Yeah, if you've been there, so
Yeah, I live not too far away from that. Yeah.
Okay, I've been to Dead Horse Point, so I've been there for what they call Easter Jeep Safari in Moab.
Yeah.
And other than driving from Salt Lake to there, but
have you ever heard of the St. Anthony sand dunes?
No.
Some of the best sand dunes in America, and they're hidden in this little rural Idaho place, one of the best sand duning places if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And maybe 30 minutes from where I live here. It's between my town and Yellowstone. So
that sounds fun.
Come from all over America to sand dune here.
You kind of know what I'm talking. So that is a passion bucket. But we all kind of step into that to pull out of it what about that car, whether that's a Jeep or a Bronco, and the thing that it allows us to do that we get joy out of in our life. And so I think my advice for people, and I'm trying to follow this myself, and I apologize. My little dog downstairs is barking because my wife just got home.
That's fine.
If you think about archetypes like like the rebel, the hero, the child, the sage, I like to think of that. You've got 12 main archetypes, and you kind of want to go out and find the different stories that people are living that connect back to your brand, your product, or your service. And if you can do that, you can start to find a way to build something special that just is built around a digital experience that's about engagement and metrics and likes and things like that. Because I really believe we have to build a more holistic ecosystem of marketing that moves a fan that likes your stuff into becoming an advocate that really supports you to becoming an evangelist that loves you. And so there's got to be an ecosystem. There's got to be steps. There's got to be jobs that people are willing to do and take on. And I think that's the things you've got to discover. That's hard work. That's digging for bones.
So you're talking about within the community, giving the members of the community things to do to help grow the community. Absolutely. And not trying to just build it all yourself.
Yes. And then the other thing that's Hugh and I, a partner with We Must Be Bold, with Kathy and I, we talk about it takes community, and that's this human grid to power word of mouth. Word of mouth it really doesn't work if the people that you're building word of mouth disciplines on, if there's not a community that they're connected to. So it makes a lot of sense for you to understand who they are and figure out, are they what's called everyday influencers? Are they those everyday people just like you? You just told me about these sand dunes. You just influenced me because you have knowledge. You talked about it just like I did maybe about you about pirates, to where maybe you'll watch a pirate movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And so these everyday influencers are really powerful, and we need those to help us build out a community, and that in turn can give us that grid to be able to build word of mouth, to have functional conversations of how we interpret things and how this will make our life better, to that I'm emotively excited about your product, so I'm going to tell people about it, or I hate it so much, I'm going to tell people about it. And then socially, because we're so narcissistic today, we share our expertise and our uniqueness, and it's what we share on Instagram. It's, look at me, I just went there, I just bought this, I just ate this. Do we really care? Well, we kind of do, because we all are somewhat voyeuristic, and but that is a motivational trigger for word of mouth. But the power is built on your community. So community is really, really important. And I wish more brands and organizations understood that, because they kind of want to shortcut it. They want a shortcut to not do the hard work, because this takes a human-centered approach and trying to build a community that's built to add meaning to a person's life. I might be rambling. I apologize.
No. All right. So let me try to restate this. So to make sure I understand what you're saying. So you're saying, instead of as a business focusing on selling to customers, let's start off by building a community. Let's build a community of people who are, and we don't build the community around our brand. We build the community around what they care about, right? We build it around their passion. You talk about finding out who they are. And you've even, written this book about the passion conversation. And we've got to find out what their passions are and build around their passions. And so often we think that they care about us and they care about our brand. And in reality, they don't so much. And if we can find out who they are, we can have these conversations with them, find out what really makes them tick, and then build communities around those passions, then we can connect with them as a brand through the passion. Am I kind of getting it? I probably added way too much to it.
No, I love what you said. No, I think you did probably a darn better good job than I did. My ramble. No, you're absolutely right. We just get, businesses get caught up in the tyranny of urgency. But when you think about, let's take BF Goodrich. They make what they call black rubber donuts. They're tires. That sounds like a pretty unexciting product to try to sell. Well, it powers every person that's out there near you in a Jeep doing a trail ride or doing sand dunes. Is that tire enables them to do that and to feel safe and confident, just like it does if you decide you want to put Michelin tires on your daughter's car when she goes off to college. You're going to feel a little bit safer because of that. And so passion works in really interesting ways, especially in how it can benefit your life. That's and the right. things that you care about. Yeah, so I agree with you. I think if we, and it goes back to experiences too. I wrote this quote, not necessarily to talk to you about it, but I've been researching a lot of academic papers on archetypes, and I came across a note of Joseph Campbell, who was influential to George Lucas and Star Wars, and it says our processing of myths includes a search for life experience or feeling the rapture of being alive. And that's what we should be exploring. What is the truth? Let's face it. Do we really help people feel alive? Do we help them do something really well? I had this thing, Nathan, I'm not sure it's really true, but I've always thought the communities that I really care about in my life are the ones that I discovered that I didn't know I needed till I found it. And then it tickled something inside of me. And that happened with cars. That's why I was a Mini Cooper guy until I went to a Mustang event in Indianapolis. And the people there welcomed me with open arms. A weird guy with spiky, crazy hair and had a Mini Cooper. I rode along with them on the Indy race car track with race car drivers. And I left there going, you know what? I'm going to buy a Mustang. And I've owned 3 Mini Coopers, but it tickled something inside me. It brought me back to my grandfather and his vehicles and my dad with a muscle car. And so we have these great opportunities to tap into people's emotions. And then it creates a lot of things on top of that. They feel like they co-own it with you.
Thank you so much, Geno, for sharing your stories and insights with us today. Here's some of my key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, word of mouth marketing is the longest running form of communication that has impacted humanity. We should use word of mouth marketing in our brands by building a community. Number 2, we should have conversations with our customers to learn their stories and unique experiences that led them to our brand. Number 3, once we know our customers' passions, we can build a community centered around those passions. Number 4, we can leverage influencers to help us build our community. Number 5, we should use our brands to create experiences for our customers where they feel alive. To learn more about or connect with Geno, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, his website, brainsonfire.com, or his podcast and his books. And you can find links to each of these in the blog post for this episode at monetizationnation.com. You can also get a free copy of my ebook about passion marketing and learn how to be a top priority of your ideal customers at passionmarketing.com. You can also subscribe to Monetization Nation on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and your favorite podcast platform. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I wish you success in your word-of-mouth marketing and your community building. Do you want to become a better digital monetizer? To receive great monetization stories and secrets, please go to monetizationnation.com and join free. And if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the show and share it.